Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, I am so excited to dive into today's topic because we're going to unpack something absolutely universal. It's so deeply embedded in our daily lives that you're literally going to recognize yourself within the first few minutes. We're looking at this brilliant little case study today, which is essentially just an everyday, super relatable conversation between a mother and her daughter. But through their casual chat about cleaning up a room and running a quick errand, we're going to uncover some deep psychological truths about our habits, the spaces we live in, and yeah, our wallets too. It's all about the joy of clutter and the real price of those sneaky impulse buys. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Joy of Clutter. The Hidden Happiness in a Messy Room.
So, tell me, have you ever felt that sudden, unbelievable joy of finding something you lost months ago? Really think about that feeling for a second. You know, you reach into the back of a junk drawer or maybe deep into the pocket of an old winter jacket, and your fingers just brush against something familiar. Boom! A huge rush of dopamine hits you. Well, our story today begins chronologically with the daughter, Susan, experiencing this exact rush of joy, all because she just found a lost pendant. She's practically buzzing, showing her mama this pendant she thought was gone forever. It's this moment of pure, unexpected happiness that, ironically, is born entirely out of just being kind of disorganized.
And Susan's logic here, it is absolutely fascinating. When her mom inevitably suggests they need to stop buying useless things and finally clean the place up, Susan pushes back with this hilarious yet surprisingly profound rationalization. She says, "You only tell me to find happiness in small things. How about this? Keep losing and keep finding." I mean, wow. It is a brilliant bit of mental gymnastics, right? Susan is essentially arguing that being messy and losing things is actually a deliberate way to engineer future moments of sudden joy. By misplacing her belongings, she's basically setting up these little happiness booby traps for her future self.
Which brings us to Section 2, the impulse buying trap, why we buy useless stuff.
But, of course, Mama isn't letting her off the hook that easily. Susan looks around the room and finally agrees, listing out her specific clutter culprits. She admits, "I don't even use them. Pillows, mugs, soft toys, glitter pens, some of them I have not even taken out of the sealed packs." She announces she's just going to bag them all up for a donation drive. And man, this is such a relatable moment. Because honestly, who among us doesn't have a drawer, a shelf, or a random box in the garage filled with untouched novelties? You know, the things we bought with so much enthusiasm that just totally evaporated the second we brought them home. Now, Mama responds to Susan's little confession by completely deconstructing the psychology of these purchases. She breaks it down into this brilliant 5-step formula for an impulse buy. Ready? Step 1. We like something. It just catches our eye. Step 2. It does not cost much, so the barrier to entry is practically zero. Step 3. We buy it. The transaction happens almost on autopilot. Step 4. No regret. And this is the insidious part. Because it was cheap, we don't feel that immediate sting of a bad investment when we get home and realize we don't actually need it. And finally, step 5, it becomes waste. Mama totally nails the logic here. A guilt-free, super cheap purchase seamlessly transforms into pure household waste simply because our brains never flag it as a massive financial risk in the first place. Moving on to Section 3, calculating the hidden costs. What are we really paying?
So what are we really paying for all this clutter? Well, we have to look at the real-world, compounded consequences of these tiny micro-decisions over a long period of time. Susan actually does the mental math and weighs the financial trade-off of her habits. On one side, you've got the direct financial cost, all the money spent on accumulated cheap stuff over the years, the glitter pens, the mugs, the pillows. It adds up. But on the exact opposite side is a massive missed opportunity. Susan suddenly realizes that if she had just saved that money instead of bleeding it out on trinkets, she could have bought a brand new laptop, something she actually really needs right now. These impulse buys, they feel so incredibly cheap in the moment, but their accumulated cost literally robs us of our purchasing power for the big things that actually matter.
But hey, the cost isn't just financial, right? It's temporal too. It's about time. Mama points out that Susan had been looking for that pendant for months, literally months of lost time. Mama freely admits that being organized is, well, kind of boring, but she firmly states that it saves a massive amount of time. Susan, stubbornly defending her corner, argues for being disorganized. Sure, it wastes months searching, but man, it provides that sudden, undeniable spark of joy. It's this fascinating psychological tug-of-war between the dull, reliable efficiency of order and the thrilling, chaotic joy of clutter. All right, Section 4, the irrational human brain, giving in to cravings. Up until this point, Mama and Susan have logically and perfectly deconstructed exactly why their habits are bad.
They totally understand the financial cost, the wasted time, the slow accumulation of waste. But then, logic just completely falls apart in practice. The immediate irony here hits so hard. Mama, who literally just spent this entire conversation preaching about the boredom of organization and the virtues of throwing things out, suddenly stops dead in her tracks. She's looking deep into the closet and gasps, "Look, I just found my favorite sweatshirt," and she looks incredibly happy. Actually, scratch that, she's elated. Mama is experiencing the exact same messy, sudden joy of finding lost clutter that she was just lecturing Susan about.
Now, to her credit, Mama realizes her own hypocrisy almost instantly. She looks at the sweatshirt and asks, "Why are we like this? We know what we should be doing, but keep doing the wrong things." And honestly, this right here, this is the central human paradox of our entire explainer today. We are equipped with logic, we can analyze our flaws perfectly on paper, and yet we are entirely, hopelessly at the mercy of our irrational brains.
And Susan, being the clever daughter that she is, immediately decides to test this paradox. Right after her mom admits to this fundamental human weakness, Susan casually throws out an idea. She suggests they hop in the car and go grab some delicious almond and walnut ice cream. She is actively suggesting a completely frivolous treat that they absolutely 100% do not need. It's the ultimate stress test of their newfound resolve to stop buying unnecessary things.
What follows is this amazing rapid-fire banter that perfectly illustrates how easily we justify our irrational desires. First off, Mama admits she desperately wants the ice cream, even though she clearly knows she doesn't need it. But she tries to rationalize the whole thing by saying, "Oh, I'll just share yours to avoid creating waste." Susan is having none of it. She immediately shuts it down. "Nope, you get your own." Then, unbelievably, Mama tries to shift the blame. She actually accuses Susan of being the one creating waste by forcing her to buy her own ice cream. But Susan expertly points out the hard truth. Mama's the one giving in to the craving. Susan just suggested it. Mama is the one who excitedly hopped right onto the bandwagon. It is a total masterclass in how we hypocritically try to spin our own lack of discipline.
Which brings us to a really provocative question that I want to leave you with today. We've seen it with the glitter pens, the lost pendant, and yes, the almond and walnut ice cream. We know what we should be doing, but why do we keep doing the wrong things? As you go about your week, I really encourage you to look at your own habits. The next time you feel that sudden itch to buy something cheap you really don't need, or when you feel that little spark of joy finding a lost item in a messy room, remember Susan and Mama. Remember the hidden costs behind that cheap thrill, and ask yourself, who is really in the driver's seat here? Is it your logic, or is it your cravings? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.